Another successful flight. There's our gate up ahead. Visible, Tony? Let's park this bird.
Yeah, but boss, there's no marshal or dock guidance system.
Oh, you know what that means, don't you, Tony? No,
Coming right at you! Here we come!
Hey, Jetway. Hey, like to park. Come over here.
No,
Come on, man. We want to park. Come on, over here.
not gonna happen.
Come on, man. Get paying you good money. Dock with our aircraft.
No, it's not in my contract.
What do you mean it's not in your contract? You're like a Jetway. Get over here and plug yourself into my plane. I want to get my packs off.
No, get wrecked.
Why won't you dock with my plane? Why would you connect?
Static life. Biatch.
Hey everybody, Captain K-Man here with another X-Plane 11 tutorial. A few of you have sent me messages or commented that you wanted to know how to utilize the Autogate plugin. And that's what we're going to do today. A lot of airports don't have Autogate installed into them. Hopefully, over time, we, the mighty airport developers of the X-Plane universe, can rectify this situation. So Autogate is not that difficult actually to implement into your airport design scenery projects. Chances are you probably already have the actual Autogate plugin because it's required for you to access any Autogate in any airport that currently has the Autogate system installed in it. So we're going to run through the whole process today, and we're going to use the Philadelphia airport that you saw us working on in the last tutorial, and we're gonna convert one of the terminals over to nothing but Autogate. We're gonna get rid of all that static gate garbage, and we're gonna replace it with Autogates and marshalers to help guide our aircraft to the parking spot. So let's get started, shall we? Well, the first thing you're gonna need to do is log into the org, and you need to go here. Or you can just do a search for the Autogate Animated Jetway and Docking Guidance System Kit. And we're going to get the kit here. And you're going to actually click Download here. And down here under Links, there's a section that says The Plugin. You'll click that, and both zip files will start downloading. And when you are done, whoosh, you're going to have these two zip files here. You're going to have one that says Autogate _172.zip, that's the actual plugin, and then you're going to have this that says Autogate _kit _171. Ooh, look at that. The Autogate plugin is more up to date than the Autogate kit. But that's fine because the assets in the kit are really what we are concerned about. So, we're going to assume in today's tutorial that you don't have anything related to Autogate in your X-Plane installation. So, whoosh, we're going to get rid of the gate kit, and we're going to go ahead and install the Autogate plugin to begin with. This is pretty simple to do. Open this bad boy up, and you're going to see, close, you're going to see these three objects in here: a README, pilot instructions on how to use the 2S guidance system display. That's kind of a more how to document, not how to install or any of that stuff. The only thing that we're really interested in is the Autogate folder here. Get out the way. We need our X-Plane installation. So, you're going to go into your X-Plane folder. This works on X-Plane 10 or X-Plane 11. You're going to go into Resources. You're going to go into Plugins. And then you're going to open up that zip file for Autogate, and you're going to drag the Autogate folder into your plugins directory here, and you'll end up with the Autogate Guess what? That's it. You're done. You have the Autogate plugin. Congratulations. It'll look like this. You have a 32-bit version, 64-bit, and all this other junk that comes with it. All of this stuff is necessary for the Autogate system to function properly. Now, let's get to the slightly more involved process of getting the assets that we're going to use to build our Autogates into our scenery. So to do that, it's relatively simple. Also, you need to go back to your root directory, go into your custom scenery, find the airport scenery folder that you are working on. We are working on Sunskyjet, dyslexia for the win. Sunskyjet, we're going to go in here, and this is the state we left it in last time. And now we're going to open up the kit zip file that you downloaded. Get off the screen, man. And you're going to get a bunch of these folders here. Now, you only need the folders that you are going to be utilizing in your scenery. So in this case, I don't know if there's a dock guidance system at Philadelphia. There might be at the larger terminals. I haven't looked yet. But I know for a fact that the JetBlue, Frontier, and Southwest Airline terminals that we're going to be working on today, there are no DGS systems. There's only the Marshaller. And you can see here we have a folder that says DGS Marshaller. So we're going to copy this entire folder into the root of our scenery that we are working on. Next, I need some gates. Glass gateways are not being used. Glass jetways are not being used at this terminal area, I don't think. So we're going to use the steel one. So we're going to copy the entire steel folder. And we're done with this for now. If we needed any of the other parts and pieces, you could copy those in there, and that's what it would look like. Now in the Marshaller folder here, we just have the 3 files here, 2 texture files and the Marshaller object, and that's fine. And then we're going to come and look at the Jetway folder here. You'll notice there is a lot of object files in here. That's because there is static versions of all the gates, and then there's the actual Autogate version of all the gates. And these come in different types of pieces. Default, shape, and we'll show you all this stuff once we get into Overlay Editor. But this is the default, perpendicular sets, the short little sets, straight pieces, the Jetway conning jet connectors, I guess that's what that stands for, jet connectors, extenders, and then onto the static scenery. You will, in the end, when you are done building your scenery, only need to keep the object files for those types of jetways that you utilize. So if I only build all my gates with just 20 and 23 meter default gate pieces, I can literally delete every single one of the rest of these object files, and the software will be just fine. So that's that. We are now ready to actually get into the meat and potatoes of this mighty Autogate plugin system. So we're going to utilize 2 tools today. Get out the way. We're going to use 2 tools today to do this. This is one of those rare moments where I'm going to work in both Overlay Editor and World Editor at the same time. We're going to do a majority of our object placement in Overlay Editor, but we need to be sure the gates, gate spawn points themselves are actually set up properly in World Editor. You cannot make the actual gate spawn assignments in Overlay Editor. You have to do all of that information in World Editor. So, and technically, and let me load up World Editor here real quick while I talk. If you have all your 3D objects laid out using World Editor, you won't even open Overlay Editor. You won't need it. It is unnecessary. But because of the nature of the scenery that we're working on right now, this guy, zoom out, zoom. Because the scenery we're working on here is a payware quality airport that was converted over from FSX, it pulled in a bunch of what's called draped polygons to build the scenery. and it builds those drape polygons into a viewable package via a DSF file. And the DSF file, if you remember, is in the Earth Nav data folder here under the longitude, latitude coordinates for the airport. So basically all the textures that make up the runways, taxiways, aprons, all that stuff is in this file and not in World Editor. So because of that, we have to do a lot of work inside the overlay editor program itself. And I will show you why in more detail here in just a moment. So we are working here right now. We don't actually need that turned on, so I'm going to hide that. And just something here I forgot to mention. If you go back and watch the other video, when I was done deleting all the taxiways and all the taxi lines and everything, we were just left with the runways. Well, unfortunately, X-Plane reads the DAT file here, and it looks for taxiways. It looks for all the tarmac, concrete, and asphalt that you built to generate the top-down view that you see when you're selecting the airport. Also, it is used to display the airport when you open the in-game map. So if you might have noticed in the other video when we loaded up the airport in the airport selection screen, there was no taxiways and nothing displayed, only the runways. Well, I went back in afterwards and I rebuilt all the taxiways. Took me about 30 minutes to lay down all the concrete areas. So that way we get a much more professional looking package inside X-Plane's selection screen. So please do that. Do not leave just the runways. If you have to work on an airport the way that we're having to work on this one, be a champion, be a hero for all mankind, go in there and put back all the taxiways. It really doesn't take that long once you get the hang of World Editor and shortcut keys and all that stuff. So like I said, this all took about 30 minutes to lay this entire structure down on the ground. So, and you don't have to worry about it showing up in the simulator when you're using a DSF overlay as your main airport like we're doing, because those drape polygons cover up all of this stuff. You won't actually see any of the World Editor data, which does have a bad side effect. You're going to lose all of the lighting that is automatically generated with World Editor when you put down taxi lines and edge lighting. None of that comes through. So we actually have to put all that in by hand later on when we start working on lighting up the airport at night, which will be a later tutorial. You can see here I actually tried to put in edge lighting using strings and stuff. Should have been able to do that, but I cannot get it to show up properly. It's like it's confusing. Sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm probably screwing myself up with layers, but that's a lesson for another day. So I'm going to just delete that. I don't need that anymore. And while I'm thinking about it, I'll just come up here and save. And we're ready to go. So what we actually need here is the gates. And we need to unlock all of our ramp starts here from last time. Expand that. And we're looking for the echo gates. Echo, 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 echo. Where are you, echo? Echo! There you are. Aha! So these are the gates that we're going to actually build today. These little guys are right here. So let's load up Overlay Editor and take a look at this airport's DSF file. And I just happen to already have that opened up, so we'll just maximize here. And zoom in. Zoom. To Terminal E. And there's gate E4. You can see it right there. E4, Philadelphia. So what is this? JetBlue, JetBlue, Frontier, Frontier, all Southwest all the way around. Then JetBlue, I think Air Canada can dock here. And something else here. I think this is like a free-for-all gate. They just throw a bunch of swords in the middle of the tarmac and have all the pilots from different airlines fight each other to the death. Whoever wins gets to park their plane there. All right, so what do we do now? We want to get some Autogates. These are all static gates. These are completely useless. This is gate E4, the one that was talking smack in the beginning of the video. So we're going to deal with him first. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we got to get rid of these static gates. They are no longer useful to our scenery. Now these are uniquely added because they are linked to the scenery in groups. As you can see, I clicked one and they all got selected all at once. So we're going to press delete, and that's going to get rid of all of the static gates. Next, we're going to come in close here. We're going to get rid of this little leftover piece, which is also associated with all the gates. No longer required. So there we are. We have clean terminals. No static gates are left. Now, for demonstration purposes, we're just going to work on the first two gates here. We're going to work on E2 and E4 here and get those up to Autogate standards. And then we'll show you what those look like in the final product. And then probably over the weekend, I will finish this terminal and probably get the rest of these knocked out, maybe. It's very time-consuming because this is such a large airport with a lot of gates. That's why you'll see in a lot of even payware, not all the gates are Autogate. A lot of them are static, and you know, if you're really going to go all out and be the champion that I want you to be when developing scenery, you will do every gate. It doesn't matter if there's 6 gates at the airport or 160 gates. Do them all if you can, space permitting. So, how does Autogate work? Well, in this hybrid method that we're using, where we're going to use Overlay Editor and World Editor in conjunction with each other, this is how you do it. So the first thing is first, you will notice if we come over, this is the objects in the package scenery, because we loaded our... Uh-oh, did I load the gates after? I think I loaded the gates afterwards. Oh yeah, I loaded the gates afterwards. Hang on a second, I gotta save this. We'll be right back. Okay, had to reload the scenery because when we did the previous step of adding the Autogate kit folders into our scenery, we already had Overlay Editor open, so I had to shut it down and reload it. So, as I was saying, you will now notice in our scenery, somewhere in here, towards the end, I think, we now have all those jetways that we added. And you can see the parts right down here, what they look like. So, and mixed in here somewhere is the marshaller. We'll find him later. He's in here somewhere. We'll get him. We'll get him, my pretties. So, we're ready to start building our first Autogate. This is the approximation of where the parking spot's going to be in World Editor. And we'll get more precise here in just a moment. We're going to be given the information that we need in Overlay Editor. It is a good idea to have Notepad open. Some kind of notepad. I'm just going to open up a regular, old, plain notepad. I also have Notepad++, which is my preferred way of doing coding and stuff. But for what we're using it for today, which is to write down coordinates and headings and stuff like that, just regular notepad will be fine. We'll put that off to the side for now. So the first thing we need is we need a static aircraft. I'm going to use Mr. X's because his aircraft are very detailed and kind of match most payware aircraft's design format here. So I'm going to just type in Airbus, and we'll just grab an A320, whatever. Air Canada sounds good. And we're going to put our little red crosshair where we want it to spawn in, and we're going to come up here and click the plus sign to drop a static aircraft. And then we're going to use the Q and the E key on the keyboard to rotate this into position. Looks like it's off a little bit, so we're going to use our ASDW keys to move him in. I'm actually using his tail shadow here, and right there he looks aligned. And I'll double check here by using the home or the end key to rotate the scenery around here and just make sure I am as close to that spot as possible where I want to be. And I probably need to come to the left just a little bit. So here's a little secret. When you drop your aircraft down while it's still selected, when it's still highlighted, push Shift-C, and this will make Overlay Editor align itself to the heading of the object that you have selected. This is critical when developing Autogates here in Overlay Editor. Be sure you do this every time before you drop any Autogates. So he looks off a little bit. I know for a fact, for some reason, when the scenery actually loads an X-plane, this ground markings here are not exactly where they are right now in Overlay Editor. They're actually shifted over to the right a little bit. So I'm going to move our plane over one. Yeah, I guess one for now. We'll just do one for now. So you see how it's slightly off center now? When we load it into the simulator, it's going to be dead center. So this is just trial and error stuff. I don't know why these markings are not precisely where they are in the actual simulator when it boots up, but that's the way these converted sceneries are, I guess. So that's just the way we have to deal with it. Okay, so this is our static aircraft. This is just our placeholder to help us align the Autogate itself. So we're going to clear the Airbus from the search engine so we can get back to the objects in this package, and we're going to go find our gate pieces here. Now I know for a fact if we want realistic looking gates, I'm going to start here with one of these little connecting pieces. A little 5-meter piece of steel should be good. While I'm still locked into the heading, you can see down here it's heading 2-1 is our heading. So while we're still down here, I'm going to drop this piece, and I'm going to rotate it with the Q and E key to get it facing towards the terminal. I'm going to turn it, and then I'm going to use the ASDW keys to move it back towards the terminal. And we'll just go until it embeds itself into the wall. I'm pretty sure we're going to need to get almost all the way over, so we're going to leave it right there. This is the start of the jetway. I always use these little tiny 5-meter connecting pieces, or 10 meters if I need to, or 15 if the gate is really, really far away, or the parking spot's really far away from the terminal. So 5 meters is pretty good for this airport. Everything's pretty close to the terminal. And then we're going to go and look for our piece that we want to use for the gate. Without having rotated the scenery at all, we are still on heading 21 degrees, all right? 21 degrees right here. Okay, you also have heading 288. Okay, but one or the other, we're going to use this right here. All right, 21 degrees, main heading. If we select our plane back again, we'll verify. Just if you have a lot of objects stacked on top of each other in Overlay Editor, you just keep clicking until you get the one you want. So there we are, heading 21. All right. So once you've laid down the 5-meter starting piece, like I just did there, you do want to reselect the aircraft. This is very important. This is going to save you so much time if you can remember to do this. So we got the aircraft selected here. We're going to go back to the objects in this package only. We're going to go find us an Autogate. Okay, now we're going to try to find the Autogate that we need. Given the distance here, probably a 14-meter piece is going to be the best piece to use. Now, you need to take into consideration the angle at which the jetway is going to be sticking off the terminal next to your plane. You have to have the jetway's entry point has to point perpendicular to the aircraft's heading. And it needs to be aligned with the door or with the front wheel well area. It depends it depends by the type of aircraft that you're using. Not all payware developers develop their center points the same, but most of them do. So for most purposes, you can use the front nose wheel as your guiding point. All right. So you have 3 different types of Autogates here. You have this one here that doesn't have any extra words. It just says Autogate and then the distance and what material it's made out of. In this case, steel. So this is your default piece. These gate pieces kind of come at you at an angle, and then the entry point turns. All right. Perpendicular pieces are just that. This is for pieces that are perpendicular. They stick straight out next to the aircraft. All right. Then you have these straight pieces, which basically shoot straight out and then the entry gangplank area, if you will, is turned at a 90-degree angle facing the aircraft. Now, given this aircraft's position, this is a little bit of trial and error. I'm going to use the 14-meter gate default that's angled. Okay. And while the aircraft is still selected, like I said earlier, select please, thank you. We're going to go and come on, go back to the object scenery. We're going to go find that gate again while the aircraft is selected. We're going to click 14 meter and we're going to add. Okay, so we got a piece of a jetway sitting here. As you can see, given its angle, it does not connect to where we need it to. And while we could move it into position where it belongs, control ASDFW to do micro movements here to get it all aligned. Remember your heading. Heading is 2-1 here. So we're going to rotate the camera here and see how well we did on matching up. So we're not quite there yet. So you can either move the aircraft itself or we can try a different piece of gate. Now the problem with this is, and let's get back to the 2-1 heading, is while I still have the gate selected, if you press just the letter C, that is the gate's center point. It is important that the gate's center point sit in the dead center of the aircraft, preferably on the actual nose wheel itself under the aircraft. If I were to release the scenery just like this, it looks good right now to your eyes, but when we spawn in, it's actually going to move the jetway all the way over to where that little red cross is on the ground, and it's going to shove the entire aircraft over there to match with the gate. So your aircraft will be basically pushed outside of its parking space. That looks terrible. There are a few airports of almost payware quality I could think of. KIAH Houston, cough, cough. You have a bunch of jetways that do this. You need to get in there and fix that, by the way. Okay. You need to make sure the gate looks more like this. We're going to move it back to where it was. Press the letter C again. Every time you move the gate, be sure you press C so you can see the center point. So if I wanted to use this piece as my jetway, that is where it has to sit if I don't want the jetway to push the aircraft out of the parking spot. All right, clear as mud. So that being said, I can't use this piece because I'm basically out of terminal and it just doesn't work. So goodbye, you are the weakest link. Deleted. So our heading is still 21 degrees, which is the heading of the aircraft. Good. So we're going to try a straight 14-meter piece instead. Plus, drop it down, move it into position here, press the C key. As you can see, it's almost where we need it to be. We're going to move it over, move it over, move it over, move it over, right there. That's where we want it. Now let's rotate our camera here. We can see that it's not quite where we need it to be. Rotate back around to 2-1. We just always want, when you're, rule of thumb, all right? Rule of thumb, I'm starting to babble here. Hang on, I'm losing my train of thought here. Rule of thumb, always have your heading in Overlay Editor as the same heading of the static aircraft that you dropped as your placeholder. All right, it just makes it easier to move the gates around whenever you use the ASWD because it'll move them in the same heading direction as the aircraft. So we're going to shift this back a little bit. Once we do that, we're going to rotate a little bit here. And that right there is actually good enough. So we're going to leave that gate right there. Be sure we're back on heading 2-1. We're going to come back over to this piece here, and we're going to move it into position. Back it up a little bit. Hold down control here so we can get fine motion control here. Rotate so we can make sure it's attached. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is one gate. All right. And what I'm probably going to do here is I'm going to select this aircraft too. And I'm going to back him up just a little bit. Just a little bit. Bring him back over there. Done. All right. That way I know it's perfectly aligned now. So that's a gate. But wait, we are not done. We are not done yet. We want to put a marshaller on this gate also. So when we come driving up, we have the little guy on the ground with his little light rave sticks, and he can direct us forward to this very parking spot. It is very important, pilots, captains, that when you are coming up, you pay very close attention to the marshaller. If he has been set up properly, he's going to guide you right to the spot that this static aircraft is. And you have to stop within like 1 meter of this spot, or else the Autogate will not engage when you turn the engines off and set the parking brake. So, precision parking. It's time for you to get trained. So, that being said, let us find our marshaller. All right, somewhere in here, we have a marshaller. And I believe the marshaller is listed as DSGS. He is in here somewhere. Where are you? Where are you? You know what? What am I doing? Just over here. There. Use the search engine. There he is. And there he is right there. All right. So we're still heading 21 degrees. All right. So all we have to do is come up here and click the plus sign to add him to the scenery. And he is probably under the plane. So we're going to use the ASDFW to move him. There he is. There he is. Mr. Marshaller. Put him back away from the plane a little bit here. Not too far away. There are some rules and restrictions that have to be followed here. And that's in the manual. We'll show you what the manual looks like here in a second. But I think that is good enough for government work right now. We'll probably have to adjust him a little bit later. Because once again, even though this parking area looks like this in Overlay Editor, it's actually shifted slightly in the actual simulator. That's why, moving over here, that's why all the little ground traffic that I created in the previous tutorial, some of the cars look like they're driving like drunk monkeys. They're driving on this stripe here or driving right down the center lane, hogging up the road. That's because even though I laid out the ground route to be perfectly in the center of these lines, because this scenery actually shifts itself a few feet in the simulator, everything gets shifted a few feet. So boo to that. Okay, this is one gate complete. I'm going to come over here just while I'm in here. I'm going to pick up this little decal. I'm going to move it over a little bit right there so it looks a little bit better. All right, let's shift over here. So we can now... before we move this airplane, oh my goodness, we almost screwed up the entire universe. Before you move this airplane onto the next gate, we're going to select it, and then we're going to go get our notepad, and we're going to bring this over here. I'm going to make a note that this is gate E2. Okay, and what I'm looking for is these coordinates right here, the latitude and the longitude and the heading. And I'm going to just 10 key these in, 39.87799898. And then I'm going to come down here and go negative 75.2384995 and a heading of 21.0 degrees. And that's my gate E2. We're about to work on gate E4 here, so I'll just put an entry in there for that. And get this out of the way. We're going to need this later when we start doing our work on these two gates in World Editor. So, with that information put in where we need it and the airplane selected, we're going to move him over here. Zoom. And let's see. I think we may not have to move him up too much. Let's see where his wheels are touching. Let's move him forward a little bit here. Over, back. Wrong way. Come this way. I think right about there. And he's pretty much in alignment already with the stripe on the ground. So there he is. We're going to, while he's selected, we're going to hit Shift-C like we did last time. This will center the aircraft and give us our true heading. So this guy is heading to 1.0 degrees as well. We didn't have to rotate him at all, which is fantastic. Makes life so much simpler for us. Now, let me show you an alternative that might speed things up a little bit. Instead of putting the little 5-meter piece that sticks out of the building, let's just jump right into dropping down a gate. So I'm going to go back to objects in this package, making sure that I have not adjusted my heading at all. It's the same. No! If you do that, be sure you press Shift-C again while you're here on the scenery. Shift-C. There we go. All right. And get rid of that. Don't need that. And we need a piece of gate. I'm going to try another one of those 14-meter pieces of gate that comes in at a 45-degree angle and see if we can use that. Boom. While the gate's still selected, remember, we press the letter C. This will show us this gate's center point. And it just so happens to be that this gate's center point is dead center with the aircraft right where we need it. So it turns out that this gate is actually going to work out just fine. And we look at it from the side here, and look at that. It's pointed right at the door where it needs to be. So that is fantastic. Going to come back around to 21 degrees. I'm perfectly happy with it being right there. I'm going to go grab me a 5-meter piece of steel. Drop that down. Rotate it into position. Whoa. See how it's rotating around its own center line here? So you got to be careful when you're doing this. Do we have enough to reach? Yes, we do. Haha, just enough. 5 meters, and it reaches just fine. We need to adjust it just a little bit here, though. Hold down Control so we can get little fine micro movements, and voila, I am happy with that. Now we need to come over here, though, because we screwed up some of our little markings. We're going to be good boys and girls here. First, we're going to select this trash can that's like in the wrong place, and we're just going to move it out of the way for the moment. Then we're going to come down here, grab our decal, and you're going to move this over here. Right about there, I think. We'll be good, and we'll grab this one, and click, click, click. We'll move him over here. Beautiful. Then we'll grab this trash can here, and we'll put it somewhere actually useful. So we'll just put it right here. Maybe rotate it just a little bit. Oh, I think all the trash cans are linked together. Well, that's no good. That means when we move one, they're all going to be moving everywhere. This hurts my feelings. Is this attached to like every single one? Nope, they're just associated with the gate. Well, you know what? I can live without dumpsters being everywhere, so I'm just going to delete the dumpsters for now. If I want to, later on, I'll come back in here and add a little more detail. All right, so let's get in close here and get this sign out where people can actually read it. Same for you, Mr. Marking. Come here, just a little bit more. There we go. Beautiful. All right, and there's that gate. Let's get in close here. Just make sure this is actually embedded in the scenery. Yes, it is. All right, so we're good to go there. All right, so I'm going to reselect the Air Canada jet here. Shift-C to get it realigned. And we're going to drop down our marshaller for this area. DGS. Marshaller. Add to scenery. And use our ASWD keys to move him back. Back. I'm going to move him right about there. Slightly off to the left a little bit. Because he'll shift to the right. And hopefully we guess just enough to actually get him lined up on the center line here. So it's going to take a little bit of bump, save, load, bump, save, load until you get everything perfectly aligned. So we have 2 fully operational gates. All right, so one more time, we're going to select him, Shift-C, just to make sure we're still centered. Bring this back over here, and gate E4's spawn needs to be latitude 39.8778925, negative 75.2381409, and a heading of 2.0 degrees. And there's our 2 gates. Whoosh, move that over there. Click the save button here. And what we're going to do right now, though, should have deleted our static plane. We no longer require that. Save. We'll bring him back later if we need to. So let's get into World Editor and do the little final small touch we need to do. And we'll go load up the simulator and test out our new Autogates. All right, so we're back inside World Editor here. And we got two little things that we need to do. We need to find our gates E2 and gates E4 that we developed earlier. We're going to click on those and we're going to give them a fine-tune adjustment. We'll use the coordinates and our heading from the information that we got out of Overlay Editor. And we're going to plug that in right over here. So I'm just going to go to gate E2, which that's that gate. And I'm going to copy that latitude and I'm going to paste it. And then I'm going to come down here, copy my longitude, and I'm going to paste it. And then we're going to put in the heading of 21 degrees. Enter. I'm going to then go to the next gate and do the same thing. Gate E4, I'm going to copy the latitude, plug it in. I'm then going to come down and grab the longitude, plug it in, and we'll put in a heading of 21 degrees. That's it. That is all you have to do in World Editor. Save. And then we need to come down. We need to export the DAT file. And there we go. All right, let's load up the simulator and check out gates E2 and gates E4. All right, X-Plane 11 is loaded up. We're going to go to new flight here. We'll pick some aircraft. I guess we'll use the one that we used to drive straight through the gates here. We'll go over to K-Fill. And you'll notice, this is what I was talking about. I went back into World Editor and added all the taxiways. Took about 30 minutes. And in the end, you end up with a rough overlay of the airport's layout, which is much appreciated by your captains. So there we go. All right, so let's look at, we'll look at gate E4 because I like gate E4 better than E2. Confirm. And start her up. We'll be right back once it's done loading. Oh, check him out. There he is. Marshaller Mike standing by on the sticks, ready to guide us in, except we're already at the gate. So we look to our left, and lo and behold, there's the jetway. Let's go outside the aircraft. And there it is, plugged into our aircraft. Now you can see, this is what I was talking about right here. Let's get low and get in tight. Zoom. You can see we were still off just a little bit. The gateway pushed us over a little bit. So I would take note of that. This is probably a 1, 2, maybe 3 taps in Overlay Editor to the left. And then once you get the new coordinates, I would come back into World Editor and just put in the new longitude, latitude, and that should bump you over here a little bit. Or you can just live with the fact that you are slightly off the center line. And just to prove that Autogate is working, we'll continue going up, 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 over, 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 and hot start.
Starting engine 1. Starting engine 2.
Once the engines start, Autogate should detect that the engines are running, and the gate will pull away from the aircraft. Here it goes. This takes just a moment. Please wait. Please. Please wait. And there goes the Autogate doing its thing. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And there's how Autogate functions. Now once our engine started here in just a second, we'll bring up the map here. This is what I was talking about here. The other reason why you want to put the taxiways back in World Editor, so this actually shows up in the map screen. Alright, so I'm going to grab my airplane here. Clunk. I'm going to drag him back. Slide, 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 slide. You're supposed to go with me, man. Okay, we need to line up a little bit better than that. Pull it back, pull it back. All right, Ah! Yeah, move back over here. Yeah. I wish the slewing engine worked better. Okay, so that's good enough. Alright, back into the aircraft. Alright, so the engines are started, and let's pretend like we just arrived here at the airport. And parking brake off. And here we go. Moving in closer. Just to show you that Mr. Marshall Man should be working. Get out of the way, Southwest, or I'm running you over. Alright, so we're coming in. We're coming in. Coming in. Marshaller will detect that we want to dock the aircraft here very shortly. Yeah, you can see he's off here. We need to move him over a couple of taps also. So everything's off by a little bit. No biggie. Just takes a moment. So there he goes. He's detected that we're coming forward. He wants us to go to the right here. Whoa, whoa. Okay, he wants us to straighten up. Come right at him. I'm coming right for you, bro. Getting closer, getting closer. Slow it up, slow it up. And there's the sticks. That should be good. Set the parking brake. Engine's off. And voila. The Autogate is coming to our aircraft because we parked right where the marshaller told us to park. If you ever see the marshaller hold out one arm and then in the other arm turn his nightstick upside down and point it at the ground, that means you came too far forward. Guess what? Autogate don't work. If you see that hand gesture, that means you screwed up the parking procedure and you suck and should not be a pilot. All right, that's it. That's Autogate. I guarantee you the other gate does the exact same thing and functions just as perfectly fine as this gate did here. So there we are, 2 gates down and about another 80 something to go. So much work. But in the end, it's worth it because you get an airport that looks awesome and performs awesome. And all your captains that come to your scenery will love you for adding that little extra bit of detail. All right, so that's it. Hopefully that's as clear as mud. I know I tend to talk a little fast sometimes, but that's what the rewind button is for. Feel free to rewind back to any part and listen to it again. Hopefully this stuff will stick. If not, there is a tried and true methodology. I know some of y'all out there don't like this, but here it is. Where is it at? Here it is. Come over here. This is called the manual. You should probably read it at least once, if not twice. It will show you all the techniques that I just showed you in real time. I know some people learn better by watching than reading, so that's why I did this video. But just in case, this is how you set up all your gates. Because we didn't go over how to set up any of the DGS stuff. It's pretty much the same as setting up a marshaller. You got to put him over here, try to keep him on the center line, and life is a better place. This manual also goes into how to use static objects, how to repaint the jetways. You're actually allowed to add your own textures if you want, and you can add more than one texture by doing the techniques that are written in this manual. So you can actually put individualized gate stamps on your jetways if you want to, because a lot of gates are usually labeled by the airline that's docking with them. JetBlue, American, whoever, whatever. This is your way of using one Autogate plugin with multiple textures on one object to get a variety of jetways at a single airport. It's pretty dope. So there you go. That's it. That's Autogates in a nutshell. I hope you found this informative. And we'll see you next time. I don't know what we're going to do next time, but it'll be something useful, I hope. I'm still learning. So as I learn, I shall share what I have learned. Because like I said in the last video, I make these videos just as much for myself as I do for anybody else, as a nice record archive, a visual instruction book for myself. Because sometimes I will walk away from scenery design for months and months. And unless you've built 20, 30 payware airports, you will forget this stuff. It is not like riding a bicycle. This stuff will fall out of your head, and you have to do little refresher courses to remember where you were. So that's it. We'll catch you next time, and thank you so much. Subscribe, click the like button, throw in some comments, nice, not dirty, nasty comments. We don't need any of that here. There's plenty of that on the internet. We don't need that here in the flight sim community. Love you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.